Tonight, Rolling with the Beard, we're going from mild to wild. Here we have the table set up for a 4-player game of Raw. Raw is a bidding set collecting game for 2 to 5 players. Players have 3 options during their turn. Most of the time, the players are going to take a turn by drawing a tile out of this bag and adding it to the auction row. The other option, a player could take the Raw token and invoke Raw and start an auction. And starting with the player to that player's left, going around the table, players will then use their bidding tokens to bid on the tiles that are on the auction row. So this player might bid a 5. This player would have the option to maybe outbid them with a 6. Say this player over here doesn't want to spend their 7 or 12, so they pass, but then it comes back to the player who invoked Raw. I might spend my 11. So I bid the highest. All these players take their bidding tokens back. I, however, exchange my bidding token for the one that was in the center. And now I put this one face down because I can't use it anymore, this epoch. Players can only use their bidding tokens once per epoch, so at most you're only going to win 3 bids. So you got to plan just the right time to spend your bidding tokens to make sure that you do get to use them, but that you don't waste them on maybe not so great auctions. And what are some of these tiles, you ask? Great question. The purple monument tiles are set collecting, so players will score points depending on how many sets and different varieties they collect. There's also Pharaoh tiles, and the player that has the most of those at the end of each epoch will gain 5 points, and the player with the least amount of Pharaoh tiles will lose 2 points. And then there's the Nile tiles. They're worth nothing on their own, but if a player has a flood tile, then they score for the flood and a point for every of the Nile tiles that they have as well. There's also these god tiles, and the god tiles are worth 2 points at the end of each epoch, but that's the third action. You can turn in a god tile to take any one of the tiles that is currently on the auction row. There's gold tiles that are available. Those are just worth 3 points. And then there's civilization tiles. And a player with 3, 4, or 5 of them will score 5, 10, or 15 points respectively. And then at the end of the epoch, all the tiles on the right side of your board are reset and all the ones on the left side of the board stay. Which this is all fine and dandy, but when drawing tiles out of the bag, the players can also draw this unsavory Raw tile. And when you pull this out of the bag, then you unintentionally invoke Raw. And now you take the Raw token starting an auction, and then starting with the player to your left, going around. And that also advances the sunboat on this track. Now what can happen, this acts as a timer for the game, because when the sunboat gets to the end of the auction board, that triggers the end of the epoch. So if you have any of your bidding tokens left unspent, sucks to suck. And then after tallying up the scores, players flip all their bidding tokens back over and then rinse and repeat 2 more times for a grand total of 3 epochs. Well, so this is, I think, the 3rd printing of this game, and obviously this, in my opinion, is far more exciting to look at than this. I know art is subjective, but actually in this case, you know what? Not only is it subjective though, the new art on the player boards, which the old version doesn't have player boards, so the new one has player boards, and all the iconography and the scoring and all that stuff is broke down very nice and clear on these player boards. And really, these player boards make the game an absolute breeze to teach. Not that the old one was difficult to teach, it's just now everything's streamlined. Half the time if a player has a question, well, what do these score? Like, it's on the player board. It even reminds you of like how much money you or how many points you start with. It reminds you which tiles get reset at the end of the epoch. It's just very friendly, and it's kind of bizarre that the original ones don't have that. Obviously, I think this game is fantastic since I have purchased 2 copies. I actually had the original one, and then a friend brought over his Pharaoh edition, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, holy cow, that's amazing. We got to play it. And then I played it, and I just fell in love with Raw all over again. It was a great game back in the day. It still has aged extremely well, and it is still an absolute blast to play. And it is a little more fun with a more boisterous crowd when people are table talking trash, and due to the whole auction thing. And maybe some players will start triggering auctions, when they don't necessarily want an auction to be triggered, but maybe just to try to drain some of those tokens from all the players sitting around them. So there's a lot of strategy in this game too. The more you play it, and maybe the more you start to know how other players play, start to look and see like what tokens they need. Maybe there's a token out there right now that they really want, and you know it's kind of premature to pull the trigger and invoke Raw now, but you do it anyways because you know that they're going to burn one of their tokens to get that particular token that they may want to get a lot of points. And why should you let them keep building up a whole bunch of tokens on there? Absolutely not. Shut that down now. You're going to give up your highest bidding token for that one particular tile that you wanted. And the game works surprisingly well with all player counts. A 2-player game works. It works. I didn't think it would be any fun. 2 players is fun. 3 players is fun. 4 is the best. Actually, 5 might be the best. No, 4 is the best. 4 is the best. 5 and 3 players is right up there, and then 2 players is still. I would still play a 2-player game anytime anyone asked of Raw. And yeah, the copy that I show in here is the limited edition Pharaoh one. I believe you can still get it on 20th Century's website. You may be able to find a coupon code and get it for roughly like 80, 90 bucks or so, which does sound a little steep, but man, those wooden tiles, the way they clink and clack, the textile feel of this game is really amazing. And the bag that the tiles come in is actually large enough to fit your mitt down inside it. It's really great. There's nothing not fantastic about this game. The art, the components, everything about it. It's just a modern classic that they redid with art that is just top notch. And like I said, the art is so clear. You can tell what are the monument tiles because they're purple. You can tell like what are the bad tiles because, you know, they'll have similar art, but they'll have big red borders on them. Just everything is so well thought out on this. Definitely worth the money. Definitely go pick it up. It is 100% staying in the Beards collection, but the old version of Raw probably isn't going to stay in the Beards collection anymore because this new shiny toy blows out of the water. One thing I did find kind of interesting though, right before we go, the point tokens, while they are fantastic, and it's like 2 types of metal adhered together, so the tops are gray and then the insides are gold, and they look great. They don't really stack, which is kind of a bummer, but you know, whatever. I do find it interesting that they chose to put so many resources into that because those are just point tokens, and it's not like money that you're exchanging throughout the game. Like, you only handle those at the end of each epoch, so 3 times the entire game. So I kind of wonder, maybe could it have been a little cheaper without them, but then again, I mean, I guess you are buying a premium product that, you know, is, I don't want to say heirloom quality, but I mean, it is super cool, and I don't ever see myself getting rid of it because it's a great game that goes a long way anytime with any crowd. You can play with gamers and non-gamers alike, and it's just great. It's just great. Go get it. Go buy it. Thanks for watching another episode of Rolling with the Beard. Please consider clicking that subscribe button and leave a comment down below on what you think I should cover next. And as always, thanks for watching.